Beloved, I'm your host, Amanda Sophia, and welcome to another episode of the Amanda Sophia podcast, a carefully curated space to support you as you awaken to joy, embrace your greatest self, and create a life of balance you love. Grab a cuppa and join me as I interview fellow spiritual thought leaders, learn how to implement feng shui practices and ancient spiritual teachings. Each episode offers tangible tips you can implement in your everyday life to honor your highest self, be of service to others, grow your business as a light worker, and embrace the present moment. Tune in, beloveds. You are welcome here. Welcome to episode 78. Thank you, beloved Shireen Cooper, for this beautiful testimonial. Shireen says, I've been interested in feng shui for many years. I am so grateful for Amanda coming into my life to fulfill this dream. The course is well laid out in both the manual and the online modules. Amanda is such a beautiful soul. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she is so willing to share. An added bonus is the Facebook community, which is so welcoming and full of good information. Thanks, Shireen. Hibiscus Moon is a former science department head turned crystal healer and self-proclaimed geo-geek extraordinaire. She's the founder of Hibiscus Moon Crystal Academy and the author of the book Crystal Grids, How and Why They Work. Oh, it's such an honor to have Hibiscus Moon here with us. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm excited to be here. This is an honor for me as well.
Oh, I'm so delighted, and I love your work, and it's just so powerful. And I would love to hear, as well as everybody listening, to hear about your journey into the world of crystals and all the amazing work that you do.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, it started when I was very, very young. I was just entranced by crystals at a very young age. We had a museum book, and I used to look and just couldn't believe that these beautiful beings came from our planet. And so, because they would have rough renditions of what the crystal would look like, and then a faceted version of the same thing. And I thought the rough was just as beautiful as the faceted. So I was always intrigued by them. And then I was always interested in hidden subjects, the occult, and things like that. So I've always been very curious and just diving deep into those subjects. Found out I was good at science, so I started teaching science. And at first thought that this was like two completely different paths, but the more you learn about science and the more you learn about metaphysics, the more you see that they are actually one and the same, that they intersect in quite a few different places. And the more they learn about science, astrophysics, and all kinds of interesting things, the more we see in common with ancient knowledge and metaphysical knowledge. All of that just started to run together for me. And let's see, in 2007, I started looking I was already a science department chair, but I was looking for a community of people who were really interested in crystal grids. And I found them on YouTube. YouTube had just started, and there was this great community of people who were doing crystal grids on YouTube. So that's really how I started down the path, I guess, that I'm on now.
That's amazing. And, you know, in my work with feng shui and also the priestess work, I mean, crystals is so important to bring in, and, we talk about how we can bring it into all the different sectors of the home. And so the first place I'd love to start, because it's always about the love. So, what are some of the main crystals that you suggest when it comes to love and relationship and kind of healing the heart and everything?
Well, this is the number one question I get asked. What crystal's good for this? And so it's always love of some kind. So rose quartz is my go-to crystal of love and compassion of all sorts. And as we know, there's different types of love, but rose quartz is wonderful for all the different types of love. It can become your close partner crystal with which you can nurture a close bond with and a trust. I have that with a rose quartz that I keep by my nightstand all the time. And I talk about it all the time. It's my buddy rose quartz. And I work with it for a lot of different things. And like I said, any kind of love. We know there's different kinds of love, and some languages have different words, terms for the different types of love. We in English just only have the one. We should probably come up with different vocabulary words for the different kinds of love, but there's friendship love, there's family love, there's personal relationship love, self-love, there's compassion and love for the world and all the beings who live on planet and beyond. Kindness and compassion are also the energy that rose quartz invites in. So all these different types of love are very, very important, and rose quartz is one that I think you should have in your top 10, in my opinion, because it's so wonderful for aligning with those different types of love. But also specifically for romantic love, rose quartz is good. But another one that is good for romantic love, because I have a feeling that's the kind of love that most people are usually asking about. Although self-love, many of the times we forget that, but if you got that in place, then romantic love is just an easy follow-up. It just comes into just right in behind the self-love, if you've mastered self-love. But as I was saying, specifically for romantic love, I do like rose quartz, but I also like almandine garnet. And combining those two, maybe in a great jewelry piece or as a meditation combo or in a crystal grid, that's really powerful.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. And I love that you said, I'd love to hear more about that, but you were saying creating a relationship with the crystal, communicating. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and the easiest way to do it, in my opinion, my rose quartz buddy that I have by my bedside, I've already created this close bond with. And where that started and where that began, and actually what I do every single morning, is a crystal meditation. And I do that with a specific crystal for a while. So I create this bond, this relationship. So I don't move to a different crystal every single day that, today I'm going to do this, today I'm going to do this, today I'm going to do this. I work with a crystal for maybe a couple of months during a crystal meditation, and then I'll work with it, not use it. I try to be mindful of that word. I work with it in various different ways too, sometimes to really solidify that bond. Like I'll create gem waters with it. I'll do my morning routine with it. But mainly it's crystal meditation where I create my relationship. And then, of course, there's crystal energy work on the body, but that gets very involved. You can just lay the crystal on the heart. That's a common place. My rose quartz has been on my heart chakra more times than probably more than I've changed my underwear.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love that. Just really working with it as well. It's not using it. I love that, working with it, because they're like a sentient energies, and something to honor, Mm-hmm. I love that. That's beautiful. Okay, so and of course it's all self-love. And even the next question, I'm sure it's always love, health, and prosperity, right? So the next one is health. And what crystal would you suggest? And of course, when we're in that place of self-love and we're just really caring for ourselves and nurturing ourselves, that can be really helpful. So what are some of the crystals for health that you suggest?
Well, I like to be practical, very practical. So I don't like to give people a whole bunch of crystals, and tell them like, you need this, you need this, you need this specifically for this. I like to try to find the Swiss Army knives of the crystal world that you can use one crystal, work with one crystal, and work with it for many different things. So I do have like a top 10. And so rose quartz obviously is one of, for all the reasons we just talked about. For supporting health, green jade. I like that a lot for any kind of therapy or healing, growth of anything. So bringing about good fortune. You've probably heard of jade being quite useful for that. I have a nice big green jade hote. And since it's right, I'm looking right at it. It's in my corner. And since I know you do feng shui, I'm not an expert in feng shui, but these hotes, a lot of times people mistakenly call them Buddhas or laughing Buddhas, but I was taught that it's called a hote. It's a good luck symbol, and often they're made out of jade. And the fact that it's carved out of green jade really exponentiates that energy even more. If you're looking for good health, good vitality, good fortune, healing, boosting your health, boosting the immune system, green jade is great for having that on hand. And I know that you want to ask about wealth. So can I just segue into that? Because it's
absolutely.
Okay. So you tell me, because I'm not a feng shui expert, but I have the jade. I'm looking right at it in this corner of my home with some coins and paper money sitting around. And whenever I have like loose change or something, I put that there because I was told that corner specifically is the wealth corner. So in any home I've been in, I've had this little setup for prosperity and abundance and wealth.
I love
What
that.
do you
Well,
think?
usually the southeast direction,
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
and then depending on the energy blueprint of your anybody's specific home, there's sometimes a couple of directions. So I love that. And what I've always heard about jade is it's like because I remember when I was traveling through China, it was like known as the all rounder like gem. It can be health, it can be the heart because it's green, right? The heart chakra, but
Mhm.
also prosperity. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Heart chakra energy. So it is, when you think about it that way, I mean, we talked about all the wonderful things it's good for. Jade covers quite a few of those bases, doesn't it? It's just kind of an all around good crystal to have on hand.
Oh, that's amazing. And like I'm just thinking I would do anything to see your crystal collection. And like I know how vast and deep your knowledge of crystals go, but I really appreciate that you keep it really simple with your top 10, you know?
I do. People are often surprised. I mean, I do have a crystal collection because I have a very good excuse to have one, right? So I have a very good excuse to be a crystal holder. But honestly, I tell people this all the time. They're quite surprised to hear it. I usually am only working with about 6 to 7 crystals. And like if you told me you're not going to be teaching anymore, you're not going to need this crystal collection, I can easily let go of all of them except for my 7 that I work with very closely. And then, of course, there's a crystal, a very rare kind of crystal that I love, ahoite. And I admittedly am a hoarder of ahoite, so those as well. I might have a hard time letting go of those. But the rest I could let go of. I could let go of except for my top 7 that I'm working with a lot. I feel like I have those are my best friends, those are my buddies, so I have a relationship there that I will never let go of.
So when you say top 7, are you kind of they're aligned with all the chakras or
Not necessarily, no. They're just crystals. Like, if I was to give an example, well, here's one right here that I have close by, a Namibian smoky quartz,
beautiful.
and then I have nicknames for most of them. Oh no, I use the crystals that I usually have up here. They're working right now in a crystal grid. We're working together in crystal grids. So there's 2 different crystal grids going. They're working. So those are 2 other ones. Then I have one that I called Squee, and Squee is just an acronym for Smoky Quartz, Celestial, and Hydro. He's really big, and he's got a hydro bubble in it, and he's an celestial, so kind of skeletal looking, and just crystals that I've had a really good experience with and have seen or felt a big energy exchange with. Those are my ones that oh my gosh, this is my crystal. I work with it all the time. I go back to them a lot and work with them during crystal meditations, crystal grids, things like that.
That's amazing. And you did mention the shape of a couple of your crystals. So what are, to just educate our beloveds that are listening, what are like is there specific shapes related that you would suggest for the crystals or for like 'cause the next thing I was going to ask about is prosperity as well. So is there specific shapes you suggest?
Yes. So most of the time, I prefer, whenever possible, whenever it's practical is like my key word. I prefer a rough, natural crystal. However, you might see behind me, I have some spheres and things back there. Sometimes a crystal, you prefer a sphere shape because a sphere, if you think about it, sends energy out in all different directions simultaneously. So maybe you have a space, a sacred space or a workspace that you want to convey that energy around the entire space. A sphere would be beneficial. Sometimes crystals don't grow as a nice point, like this smoky quartz. So sometimes a crystal, like for instance, this shungite, is going to grow as a mass. And it's just, kind of looks it's just a rock. That's it. So having it carved and shaped into a sphere is very practical because then that is going to allow the energy to go out in all different directions. And I have this right here because I have that and a black tourmaline, another one of my top 10, in front of my laptop, and that's to mitigate electromagnetic frequencies. So you can see this is a natural crystal with two natural terminations. And then the sphere, because it grows as a mass, you can leave it as a mass, but this very nicely makes the energy, allows the energy to transmit in all different directions equally.
And do you think that it takes from the crystal at all when they are kind of manufacturing them, changing the shape? Do you think that affects the energy at all?
Yes, it does dampen the energy somewhat. However, for some things, like for instance, let's say you wanted to use tiger's eye to direct energy. Tiger's eye is another one that grows as a mass, but maybe you need to work with it as a tumbled stone for chakra use, or you want to work with it as a pointed wand to direct energy for a crystal grid or for energy work. Then I would buy or work with a tiger's eye wand, which has to be cut and polished. Yes, that dampens the energy a little bit, but it's going to work so much better for the purposes that I'm looking for those specific reasons that I just mentioned, than working with the mass of tigers.
Yeah, you're really pinpointing
Yeah.
that energetic where you want it to go. I love that.
Right.
And so you've been talking a little bit about the smoky and the black tourmaline. So that's kind of one of my questions as well for protection. What are some crystals? Is that and protection even from EMFs? You were saying, right?
Yes, I love both of those for electromagnetic frequencies mitigating. It's not completely blocking it out, but it's going to help to mitigate those energies. There's lots of physics properties with black tourmaline, back it up as well, as far as a crystal goes. It's what's known as pyroelectric and piezoelectric. And that just means that it can polarize electrical energy within it. It actually does that. It's one of the reasons why I find it to be such an effective crystal to work with, black tourmaline. It's very good because of the pyroelectricity and the piezoelectricity properties. It's very, very ideal for transmuting energy. So if energy has a specific charge to it, it may bring up or align a negative feeling with us. It might become a vibrational match to a negative feeling within us. So black tourmaline is your go-to transmuter to basically neutralize that energy. It brings that energy back to neutral. So for that reason, it's always in front of me, in between me and my laptop. That's why it's always easy to grab when I'm doing these interviews and things. And I'm transmuting that electromagnetic radiation coming off the laptop. And it tested other crystals and other things. And when I tested the black tourmaline, I showed this in a YouTube video a long time ago, I get really good results. It's not the best thing you can do. It's not going to completely mitigate that energy, but I'm very much about the science. And it's one thing I can do to help tone it down. One thing I don't like using in front of crystals that I see people recommending a lot, and I just don't understand the reason behind it, is I don't like working with silicates on my desk at all for that purpose. Okay. So, or very close to my laptop. I hear people say, oh, put a piece of selenite or put a piece of citrine in front of your laptop. I have to ask why. Why do that? That's a silicate. A silicate is silicon dioxide. So it's elements of silicon and the elements of oxygen. And what silicon dioxide does is it amplifies that electrical energy. We use silicon chips in our electronics to make them work better. So I don't want to amplify that energy. I don't want it to work. I mean, I love my laptop working very well, but it doesn't need my quartz crystals around it amplifying that energy towards me. So that's why black tourmaline's on my list. I also like it for transmuting negative energy that people might bring into the space. So when I used to work in the classroom, which I left in 2012, I used to be a science, like I said, science chair, science teacher. Some people would come into the room and they were just an absolute joy to have around, the kind of people that, you love having them. And some people come in the room and they kind of just suck the energy out of the space, right? So some people call that energy vampires, or you just feel like, oh, this yuck and stuck energy now. So there weren't too many of those, gratefully, but the black tourmaline was wonderful for having around for that sort of thing, because I could get away with putting rocks all over my room because, part of what I taught was geology and it was part of my curriculum. So I could put any kind of rock and crystal around my room. No one would question a thing. Black tourmaline was wonderful for that. And you can also make like little mojo kits with like a little bag, like a little organza bag. And you can make room sprays with black tourmaline, all kinds of great stuff.
And so
So
do you put the crystal in the bottle? Is that what it is?
yeah, just put a little chip of the crystal in the bottle, or you can put if you have a larger piece like this one is, you could put this in a pitcher of water. Leave it there. I mean, just to give you the very easy, like the easiest way to make a gem elixir, very simple. Just put it in overnight in a pitcher of water. Next morning, you've got black tourmaline gem water. Very easy.
It's amazing.
So it's another one of my top 10. So if you want, by the way, do you want me to give the link for my top 10 crystals list? You easily download that and have my top 10.
That would be
All you
amazing.
do is go to hibiscusmoon.com/must have crystals. And that would subscribe them to my newsletter, and you'll get the PDF of my top 10 list.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And we'll make sure that goes in the show notes as well.
Oh, thank you.
That's brilliant. So
Yeah.
you've shared now like love, a little bit of wealth. Give us another prosperity, abundance one for those that would like to enhance.
I love to give crystals for prosperity. So pyrite is a beautiful one for that. I actually have 2 twin pyrite cubes here from Spain. This grows like this. This is natural. People ask me, that didn't grow out of the earth like that. It did. It actually did. And it just amazes me the sacred geometry we have with that. But another one for prosperity besides pyrite. Oh, and this is also known as fool's gold because people used to think it, obviously the gold color, you'd think it might be gold. But it's actually iron and sulfide, different than gold. Another one is citrine. However, I'm going to caution people, you want to be careful because a lot of the citrine on the market is baked citrine. So you want to ask for Congo citrine. Okay. You can work with either Congo citrine or pyrite. Congo citrine grows like a point, like this, naturally. Okay. So sometimes people might see those like geode citrines. This is an amethyst. But if it looks like this shape, and it's kind of orange in color, it's baked amethyst. They've taken the amethyst, they've baked it, and it goes dark orange. And they'll call that citrine. And they've been doing that for years and years, but they're not telling you it's not really citrine, it's a baked amethyst. So there's some misrepresentations we need to watch out for.
Yeah, so crystals that have color in them, and you can see they're dyed, which I'm sure is not the highest vibration, right?
No, not my favorite, no. So I like pyrite because that's easier to get a hold of. It's also more affordable, so more practical. But if you really need to have that citrine energy, or you can work with both Congo citrine and pyrite. But they're great for bringing in positive, good vibrations, high vibe energy. So if you're feeling any kind of depression, also not just for supporting wealth, but seasonal affective disorder, from too much winter maybe, those are both great for giving you a sunny disposition. So if you're missing some of that warmth, you need to amplify some of that energy. The Congo citrine and the pyrite are both wonderful for that. But citrine specifically, real citrine, is known as the merchant stone because it's been known since ancient times for bringing in that prosperity energy and being a vibrational match for that. So that would help amplify that energy. So if you need to do better in business, or you're looking to do a crystal grid to increase profit or increase your paycheck, or you're looking for a new job, or maybe looking to sell a house or rent a house, or anything to do with prosperity and wealth, Congo citrine and pyrite. I like those two.
Beautiful. Thank you. And then I think do you feel that crystals need to be cleansed, and how would you, to our listeners, suggest some simple ways, especially even if they picked up at a store and, want to bring it home, cleanse, how do you suggest that?
Right. Well, there's so many different ways to do it. When I first got into working with crystal energy, I really got interested in all the amazing, playful, fun ways there were of retuning the energy of a crystal. But I soon found out a lot of those, you need to be very careful, and you need to know what you're talking about. And you need to know your geology. And many times we don't know. You shouldn't be expected to know deep geology when you first start working with crystals, or maybe ever, because water, salt, all of these things can be great for cleansing sunlight, or for retuning, I like to call it. However, they can be damaging to our crystals in various different ways, and I won't get into that. So, the safest way, and I also feel not only is it the safest, but it's the most effective, energetically effective way, is to work with sound. You're not going to damage anything. You're having an actual vibrational sound vibrations, sound acoustics moving through your crystal that kind of jars the crystal molecules back into their dominant oscillatory rate. So that retunes them. So I like any kind of sound. It doesn't matter what tune or what frequency it is. Often people will say, does it have to be a certain note or a certain frequency? No, no, no. Just so long as it's got a lot of energy in it. So how do you put a lot of energy into sound? You make it loud. You amplify it. So that's high amplitude energy. And so that could be anything. I mean, I prefer things that just sound more pleasing. For instance, a crystal singing bowl or a tuning fork. But it doesn't matter what frequency that tuning fork is or what note that bowl is. It's just a pleasant sound frequency, sound acoustics that can actually, you can feel the vibration going through the crystals, and that will quickly and safely, that's most important, safely retune the crystals.
I love that. Thank you so much. I mean, I could speak with you for hours and hours because you are just so much beautiful wisdom and knowledge. But I'd love to maybe just ask, with your daily practice with crystals, maybe you could give our listeners a last couple of tips for maybe some suggestions around their home with the crystals.
Okay, so I have to think about this because I work with crystals so much. I've integrated them into my life so much in very practical ways. So I'm not very ceremonial about my crystal work any longer because I'm just working with them all the time, constantly. As you can see, oh, it's probably covered. I'm wearing this all the time. This is an amethyst point that I just have been wearing for years, and it's interesting to see how it's changed and morphed over the years as I've worn it. So that's always there. I start my day with that rose quartz that I talked about at the beginning and doing my morning ritual there in my bed before I even get up. And it's very quick, it's 5 minutes. And I do a little bit of intention setting and then clearing of my energetic aura, but it's very quick. Then I go into my crystal meditation that I do, and that I'll do for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And that will be with the one crystal that I'm working with at that time. So right now it's Squee, the one that I talked about, the smoky quartz, celestial, and hydro. And then, I get into like grooming and my morning, coffee and food and things like that. And believe it or not, crystals are integrated into my water systems in my home.
I well believe that.
I have crystal gem water on tap, and I'm not kidding you. Yeah, I've shown people under my sink, like the crystal vortex that goes under there. It's a complete, very complex reverse osmosis system that puts minerals back into the water, but then it vortexes through crystals as well. So I'm showering under that, and my cooking is with that, and my coffee is with that. But then I can throw a crystal in to the cup too, I want to visually see it. It just makes me feel good to just see it there as well, not just have it on tap and have it be like, oh, so practical. I can wash my hair in crystal water. But it is nice. It does make a huge difference.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. This is just, oh my God, it's incredible. And I know you do an entire like certification where people can really go. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that's my legacy, just being able to do that certification. However, this is my last year doing it. So I am retiring, not kind of retiring that whole program. We have 2 more terms coming up this year, and I certify people in the art and science of crystal therapy. So they become certified crystal practitioners. And we actually have 2,600 successful graduates around the planet doing this work. So I'm so, so proud of that.
That's amazing. And I do know many of the beloveds that have come through my feng shui certification. Then, we teach a little bit about crystals, but they really, really will learn. They head on over to you there, so it's so gorgeous. So what are some of the new things now if you're retiring that program and this is the last year for it?
Well, I decided that I am going to be just retiring myself for a while. So I've canceled myself. This is a very good thing. At least for a year after December 31st, that'll be the end. So we're going all systems go right now, right up to the very last day of the year. And then I'm going to take a year off. And I felt very called to do that. The crystals helped me with that decision. And I've been doing this for 12 years now. So I just decided that, well, I didn't decide, I was very much given this information and kind of downloaded it, that I'm going to take a year off, not do
That's
anything.
amazing. I just have to say, honor you for that. And,
Oh,
authentic and listening. And then also, well, taking the action not to do, but also giving yourself that time and space from the
yeah.
guidance you received. And I'm sure that just felt right though as well.
It did. It felt so right, and I was scared to tell my followers and my audience, my students, but they've all been so supportive of this. And I said, I'm going to come back. I'm always going to teach about crystals because it's my passion, my love. I will never not do that, but it will be in some other format, and I don't know what that is right
I love it.
now.
We're moving into this new earth and there's just shifts and change everywhere. So
Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, thank you
yeah.
so much for sharing all of your incredible wisdom. This was very enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. This was a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. Join our Inner Circle of Feng Shui membership. This is the place to transform your life and personal space into a magical, healing, and supportive haven. Whether you're new to Feng Shui or an experienced practitioner, the Inner Circle of Feng Shui takes you to the leading edge of this sacred science. As part of the membership, you'll have access to 2 live webinars each month, joining a thriving and loving community of hundreds of people on our private Facebook group from around the world. You'll receive access to our bonus webinars on conscious living. You'll have a chance to ask personal questions and connect with an exceptional like-minded tribe and a library of over 200 classes. Join us today. Beloved, connect with me at joinamandasophia.com to carry on this powerful conversation together and enjoy tons of other amazing episodes. Did you enjoy this podcast? If so, please subscribe and leave me a 5-star review. If you think your friends will benefit, I'd be honored if you share with them. I invite you to visit joinamandasophia.com and download valuable freebies I made to enhance your feng shui journey. Thank you so much for listening. I am sending so much love your way.